Originally, the Dune Part 1 production wasn't sure where the first part was going to end, whether it would be before they reach the Cave of Ridges or after the Water of Life sequence. In this video, we'll take a look at the tone that they're going to go for in Dune Part 2. The Dune script I'm about to read from will likely have descriptions that will make its way into Dune Part 2, and were written by Eric Roth and Denis Villeneuve, with revisions by John Spates, so this is as authentic as it's going to get, and will definitely give us an idea of the tone of Dune Part 2. If you like these videos, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, it really helps YouTube to recognize my video and get it out to more people. Thank you all for your support so far. Now let's get stuck into this Dune Part 2 deep dive into the Cave of Ridges, the Mahdi, and the Sayyadina in Dune Part 2.
This is only the beginning.
So starting from where we left off in Dune Part 1, Chani will walk before Paul and pass by a creosote bush beside the trail. She'll turn back to whisper to him,
"Not brush against the bush lest you leave a thread to show the way. Where we go, no one must follow."
Paul will nod and follow, unable to tear his eyes from her, so he'll be fixated on Zendaya's character Chani. Because this quote was at this point, I do not believe that we're going to see it in Dune Part 2. I believe it is a deleted scene, and we may never get to see this full deleted scene. They might possibly recycle the scene in order to use it for Dune Part 2 while on their way to Sietch Tabr, but I think it will be complicated to recreate the exact scenario that occurred and match it to new footage, so I don't think they're going to use the old footage and instead would shoot the scenes from scratch. As the sun rises, the tribe will fly into a narrow canyon that tightens as it goes, until they must turn sideways to pass. The script describes Arrakis as having narrow canyons that tighten as they go, scenes we've seen in Paul's visions. They will come to a steel hatch leading into a sealed environment, and this will be the Cave of Ridges, which is a domed cave of banded orange and white stone in a natural ridged pattern. It's windowless and warmly lit by glow globes. The steel hatch seals the environment to capture the moisture of the tribe. The cave is windowless and warmly lit by glow globes, and inside the tribe relaxes, throwing back their hoods and taking off their veils and nose plugs. And what the Dune production has done is made the Cave of Ridges connected to Sietch Tabr, so they're actually supposed to be going to Sietch Tabr directly. And I guess this is to save time, because I don't believe that the Cave of Ridges originally was linked to Sietch Tabr. So they get to Sietch Tabr, and what happens next is that Stilgar walks into a small ornate room where the Reverend Mother Amalo is sitting. They portray her as a 90-year-old woman. A holy woman, ancient, frail, and half-blind. She sits in a wooden chair similar to how Reverend Mother Goddess Helen Mohaim sits in a wooden chair on Caladan when she first tests Paul with the pain box. Stilgar approaches the woman and falls to his knees in reverence. She smiles. And she smiles probably because she knows that she has power over these people in a way that the Bene Gesserit have cultivated this people to revere the Reverend Mothers. They've conditioned them and perhaps even brainwashed them. So we technically shouldn't consider these women to be good figures or figures of good in the community. There should be a sinister air about them. Whether or not Stilgar will actually fall in reverence in front of her remains to be seen. But I don't think it will be a full kneeling, a full bowing in reverence. I think it will merely be a gesture of respect. Of course, Paul and Jessica are with Stilgar and the troop. Then Stilgar will approach Jessica and call her Sayyadina. He will say, "Sayyadina, come with me. There is something I would show you." Stilgar will lead Jessica into a dark cavern. I'm sure there will be some kind of shot of Paul in apprehension of this act, but he will let her go, and I think Jessica will reassure him with a look or a small gesture, or even a few words. Then Stilgar will lead Jessica into a dark cavern and close a sealed vault door behind them and turn on a light. Then Jessica will gasp, and before them is a water tank, man-made, millions of gallons of water resting in darkness in a secret place. Then Stilgar will tell Jessica, "This is holy. One of our tribe, dying of thirst, would not touch this water." This is where my water will go if you kill me, Jessica says. Yes, we have 1,000 such places, sealed off from the little makers, and when we have enough, we will change the face of Arrakis. The dream of Liet Kynes, Jessica says. The dream of all Fremen, Stilgar will reply, and then he will turn to her earnestly. I'm trying to find some place for you. You bested me before the tribe. Until I learn your way of battle, I cannot challenge you, but neither will they follow you, an outsider, ignorant of our ways. So, Jessica besting Stilgar in Dune Part 1 will create this issue between Jessica and Stilgar in Dune Part 2, although I think Stilgar will take this difficulty very honourably and with character. Jessica will nod sadly, understanding this issue and seeing the shape of it. I'm a problem, she will say. I may have a solution. Our Reverend Mother is old. She will not survive the Umrah. Would you attempt the ritual? Then you would hold a place of honour none could challenge. Your Reverend Mother, Jessica asks. And what the Umrah is, of course, is a great migration, perhaps to a CH community in the open. In the Cave of Ridges, while Paul and Chani wait for Jessica and Stilgar, Chani gives Paul a morsel of food wrapped in paper. Paul will take the food and eat it, and he will sense the spice in it, and his eyes will widen. Perhaps this is a point where he will see visions. Then Stilgar will lead Jessica out to the rest of the tribe and raise his voice to get their attention. The Sayyadina has agreed to attempt the ritual. To pass within. What say you? He asks his tribe. The eyes of the tribe fall on Jessica in puzzled curiosity, and she is strange to them. They don't know how to think of her. Jessica looks at Stilgar grimly. The tide runs against her. Perhaps she is apprehensive in taking part in this ritual. Perhaps she doesn't know what it is. Quietly, he tells Jessica, they wait for a sign. And this is the moment where Jessica realizes she has to perform a sign, to create a sign, or to conjure up a miracle to convince them. Either way, she hesitates. Realizing what is demanded of her, she closes her eyes and then searches her inner memory. Knowing what is required of her, she raises one hand high, fingers spread wide in testimony, almost like reminiscent of a preacher at mass. And then Jessica will say, I see a Fremen with the Book of Examples. This is referring to the Kitab al-Ibar, and a collective intake of breath around her. A rustle of robes. All eyes are lifted to her, all of the Fremen are watching her now. Beside Paul, Chani is also caught up in the moment, and Paul looks around mystified. Jessica continues, he reads to Alert, the sun, and this is what he reads. My enemies are like blades of grass beaten down by the tempest. Their schemes are like pellets of poison that every mouth rejects. Back to her comes a whispered response of many voices, the Fremen saying in unison, their works have been overthrown. Jessica will continue. The fire of God mount over thy heart. The fire of God set alight, the Fremen will say. Thine enemies shall fall, Jessica will say, and she will hear the Fremen reply, Billah Kaifa. Stilgar will drop to his knees before her, bowing low. If Shai-Hulud grant, you may yet pass within to become a Reverend Mother. Paul frowns. I'm not sure exactly how the film will portray this, but I have a feeling that they're not going to ham it up too much. I think they're going to visually portray some form of sign or some form of miracle, a visible miracle rather than mere words, to convince the Fremen that she is the Sayyadina that they have been waiting for. Otherwise, I feel that Denis Villeneuve will consider it to be too much as though the Fremen are easily swayed and easily manipulated, and I don't think Denis Villeneuve wants to go down that road. And if there is a funeral scene for Jamis, Paul will shed a tear, and this is how it is written in the script. Tears start welling up in Paul's eyes, and the Fremen react with a religious awe. See, his eyes! He gives water to the dead. They will reach out to touch his tears, and they will celebrate saying, I touched his cheek, I felt the gift of his moisture. And then one Fremen will say, lad needs a naming still, and then Stilgar will grin and nod, giving Paul a measuring look. I see strength in you. You shall be known as Usul, the base of the pillar. This is your CH name, that we alone may use, Usul. And then everyone will murmur, Usul, a good choice, strong, bring us luck. Stilgar will continue, but what name of manhood do you choose to use openly? How will you be known to the world? Paul thinks about it for a while. How do you call the little desert mouse? The mouse that jumps. He illustrates the desert mouse's hopping, hop 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 with his hands, and then a chuckle runs through the troop. We call that one Mu'addib. Let me be known as Mu'addib. Chani appears before him. James's body yielded 33 litres and 7 3/8 tracts of water. Yours by right. Paul blinks at her, shocked. I don't want James's water. Let his water be given to the tribe. Stilgar nods in approval. Reverent murmurs from the crowd. He pays the water price. His gift shall be a blessing. You are one of us now. You have faced death and lived. Stilgar will turn to Jessica. Now, you must face your fate. Come and see CH Tabar. Between the Cave of Ridges and CH Tabar is a sandstone ridge. The Fremen walk this natural bridge, and Paul falls into step beside Jessica and speaks quietly to her, asking, what does it mean to become a Reverend Mother? Jessica thinks for a moment. It's more than a title. To become a Reverend Mother, one of our sisterhood must drink a poison, the truth-sayer drug. It kills most women who try, but those who survive the agony awaken into a higher awareness. Not just the ability to tell truth from falsehood. Reverend Mothers tap into the genetic memory of the species. They hear the voices of generations, of women in their minds. They share their memories. Paul stares at her in awe. This is a great mystery to him. And I think this is one of the reasons why they omitted the voices that Jessica hears in the scene where she walks down the corridor in Dune Part 1. You can see in the scene that she's reacting almost to voices that are not there, but they kind of replaced this with mere emotions. But in this specific scene, she's supposed to be hearing voices as I show in my Dune Deleted Scenes video. So Paul will continue to ask, the Fremen have Reverend Mothers? The truth-sayer drug we use. This is where it comes from. This is where it began. These are the scenes that were already developed for the Dune Part 1 script, which will be utilised in some form for Dune Part 2. If you enjoyed this, check out this other content for more.